Hey guys and girl, Sisson here. So there has been a lot of interesting turn of events that have gone on with a game I used to enjoy a lot as a kid, i.e. The Crew. I made a video on this topic in January, which you should watch beforehand if you haven't already, before the game got shut down. But needless to say, I was quite surprised by the big amount of YouTubers who have covered this topic, as well as even the civil lawsuit that's being prepared to go on against Ubisoft. This was something that I could only dream of, so it makes me glad that I'm not the only one talking about this issue, but I'll get to that later. But before that, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I can feel the anguish right now. But in all seriousness, it really helps me way more than you can imagine. Even if you don't feel like subscribing, at least be sure to comment on how I can improve my videos and what else you'd like me to do. I'm open to any helpful criticism and any way I can further improve my videos. With that said, let's go back to the topic. Now, I was debating on making this video as I was struggling to find things that I hadn't previously mentioned. However, Ubisoft's actions last month pertaining to this game and its removal kind of fueled me to talk about this and how I feel about it. Okay, so to start off, while I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore fanatic of The Crew, I have played it a lot throughout its life cycle, and I initially had the base game on Xbox One and finished the whole game, and then after the DLCs came out, I tried to find a physical copy of the game and played it again, the whole thing. After that, I really kind of got off before COVID hit and kind of forced us to quarantine, but that was exactly when I started playing this game again, since I had it on my desktop and I was kind of just bored, so yeah. But after that, I would say I've kind of stopped playing this game for a while until it came again on PlayStation Plus, and while I didn't have a PS5, my friend did, so I kind of just started playing it on my friend's PS5 until the game got removed off of PS Plus. Coincidentally, a few months after the game got removed from PS Plus was when Ubisoft announced that they were going to pull it off store shelves. So I got it a fourth time on PC and then try to play as much of it as I can while trying to do my college work before the game got put offline. So needless to say, I bought this game 4 times and I've played it like a lot. And despite the fact that I also played The Crew 2 and was interested in buying The Crew Motorfest, I didn't feel that The Crew 2 hit the same as the original game. The Crew 2, while having more cars, motorbikes, and even introducing planes and boats, had a very different tone as it opted for a more Forza Horizon-esque tone. And the map was actually a downgrade, having removed certain places on the map, which is pretty typical for a Ubisoft game. And along with that, the police DLC that came with the original Crew was completely absent, and there was no police at all in the game, which isn't really that much of a deal, but I kind of liked the police DLC for the Crew 1. Now, I'd say this is kind of typical of Ubisoft games, as whenever I've played Far Cry or Watch Dogs or Ghost Recon, the newer releases of Ubisoft titles always seem to lack bits that the original had and kind of feel watered down in comparison. And as a result, I tend to usually prefer older Ubisoft titles over newer ones, which is also the reason why I prefer playing the original Crew over Crew 2. Now, for a while, I was hoping that there would be an offline patch similar to how Polyphony Digital did the offline patch for this game, which I think is a much better strategy, despite the fact that Polyphony Digital didn't even have to do it, but they decided that it was best for the consumer to still be able to play the game that they purchased. So even if you have GT Sport now, after the servers got shut down, you'd still be able to play it if you had a physical copy, rather than being completely locked out of the game. Even though, in my personal opinion, GT Sport was a little underwhelming compared to GT6, I can definitely applaud that they went through the trouble of trying to patch in an offline mode, which is something I really hoped Ubisoft would do. Unfortunately, Ubisoft being Ubisoft, I didn't have the highest expectations that they were going to put in an offline patch, which, come to find out, is true, as we did not receive an offline patch. Now, despite all of this, there was even a plan to put in an offline mode for the Crew, where you could play the game without an internet connection, and it honestly would have been really easy for them to re-implement it, since it was inside the code. It was actually discovered that there was original plans for it. But Ubisoft being Ubisoft, you wouldn't really expect them to care about their players base. But okay, Ubisoft shut down the servers and didn't give us an offline patch. Even though that would mean the console versions that I owned would be dead in the water, at least the community could come together and create an offline patch for the PC version at least. And this is something that has actually been done before with games like Battlefield 2 and Need for Speed World, where the community was able to pick up files and was able to create private servers and even allow us to replay these old games that are no longer accessible. And there was even plans for the community for the Crew to create such a thing, as even though the community for the original Crew is small, the people in the community are very dedicated and passionate about the game. So I was very hopeful that at least we would get a PC patch that could allow us to replay those old memories of going from coast to coast. But that would mean that people would be playing the old game, and Ubisoft did not want people to play the older title and not buy the newest dumpster fire that Ubisoft released annually. So, on April 12th, Ubisoft decided that it would be great to revoke the licenses and game files for the PC version of the game, and made it so that you cannot download the game even if you had it purchased on Steam or on Uplay. This meant that any hopes of an offline community patch was crushed and dead in the water, because you couldn't access the game files to make said patch. And you know what would add salt to this wound? The fact that Ubisoft had the balls to say, why don't you check the store to pursue your newer adventures? So Ubisoft wanted us to buy the new game and pushed it. to the fact that people who didn't want to play the new game just couldn't anymore, even though they paid their money to Ubisoft to be able to own a copy of the game and enjoy playing it. And even if you still had it installed and did not delete the game, which I still had it on my hard drive, when I opened it up, the game was apparently converted into a demo version and prompted for a game key if you were on Steam. So that means that all files for this game no longer exist and they are wiped out completely. There really has to be something sinister that's going on in Ubisoft for them to pull such a move like this, to not only pull the servers off a game, but to revoke the files and make it so that you cannot do anything with the game. While, pulling off something like this and being so violent about it to the people who are supporting your developers and making your company richer, it really boggles my mind. And while this is technically legal in America and it falls in the gray area, it's definitely illegal in countries where there is a much stronger consumer protection policy, i.e. countries like France or Germany. Coincidentally, the former being the country where Ubisoft is located. But okay. Imagine if this technique was applied somewhere else. Okay, imagine you go and buy a new smartphone and you love it and you like enjoying the features it has and you enjoy using it, and the smartphone company releases newer versions and newer models of the smartphone, but you kind of just prefer keeping the old one because it works and it's just a smartphone. So if you enjoy using the smartphone, you should legally be able to use the smartphone indefinitely until it breaks, okay? But the company finds out that a lot of people are using the older model and not buying the newer model. So they decide to install a software that makes the older phones completely unusable and hampers the usability of the phone you have, just so that you can go and buy a new phone. Imagine if a company pulled off something like that. Imagine how crazy... Oh wait. Now, planned obsolescence isn't anything new, which is basically what you could call this. But it's definitely new for video games. But this kind of malicious planned obsolescence is definitely new, and one where the company tries to destroy the product so that you can't use it anymore is definitely new. And if Ubisoft is able to get away with it, who knows what may follow. Even if you aren't a big fan of the Crew game, or you don't like it or don't care about it, a publisher might as well just do the same thing with a game that you do enjoy. Whether it's the Crew or Need for Speed 2015, the Battlefield series, DICE's Battlefront, Rainbow Six, Fallout 76. Any game, even if it's a single player title, if it requires an online connection to play the game, there is a high likelihood that this could happen, and the developer, if they want to, can go as far as removing and revoking access to the game and removing files so that all the memories you have of playing that game is just lost, and you can no longer own whatever you purchased with your own money. And as more and more games are being forced to connect to the internet to play, don't be surprised if one of this happens to a game that you enjoy. Now, I know it seems like all I've been doing so far is fear-mongering, but there is a way we can stop this. In regards to the crew, you might have also heard of a YouTuber named Ross Scott, who runs a channel called Cursed Farms. He's been starting a petition to bring Ubisoft to court, and even to, in the future, to help prevent any other publisher from pulling this kind of BS. And it's been a week since this petition started. It's still very much active, with recently it going live in Canada, Australia, and the UK. Honestly, the website is laid out in a very similar manner, and it should be easy trying to take action from wherever you are watching this. And even if you're hesitant about filling it, or you think that Ubisoft is in the right, or you don't really understand why something like this is important, there is a FAQ section that kind of just answers any doubts that you might have and may persuade you. I have the link in the description, but you can also just search up stopkillinggames.com and you should see the website. Now, the petition may take like 15 to 20 minutes to complete, so I recommend you find some free time, grab a snack, and just complete it. But once you do, you are now an elite member who are trying to fight against Ubisoft, telling them that they cannot get away with this, and that what we buy with our own money is ours. And if people were able to sue EA for loot boxes and even have it illegal in many countries, then we can definitely help fill out this gray area and protect our rights as a consumer. And as for me, I have also filled out the petition, and I'm even planning on just boycotting Ubisoft's newer games, i.e. I will not be buying any new Ubisoft products with my own money, which shouldn't be much of a issue since Ubisoft hasn't really put out anything good recently that isn't just a watered down version of a previous title. If you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I apologize for the lack of uploads, but I promise, I honestly, genuinely promise I will start uploading content on a weekly basis now that my finals for college are now over. And while you're filling out the petition, feel free to subscribe and share this video with your friends and family and everybody around you. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you all, and I will see you guys later. Bye bye.